So I get asked a lot about how to fix your microbes when they've become too wet. One of the things, if you put a lot of nitrogen-rich material, or just, sometimes you have the issue if you put too much dairy or proteins or sugars. So basically do a stress test. So if you look inside, I have actually let this run for a couple days and have actually dried it out a little bit on purpose because I knew I was gonna put some really wet stuff in here. But this is like, pretty good, healthy microbes, healthy compost right now that's still working on some stuff. And you can see things like orange peels that take a bit longer. So what I did, my wife just cleaned out the chest freezer. And so this is food waste that we've collected for a day or so. And then this is stuff from the chest freezer that needed to be cleaned out. So we've got some Breyer's ice cream, which looks like it already melted. So I'm gonna load this thing up today with all of this wet stuff. Going to probably make my microbes really wet and clumpy and slimy, but I am going to show you how to recover them and bring them back to life. So I threw that in there. I'm gonna throw in just like some paper towels and food waste from the last day or so. I just added the rest of that food waste out of that bowl. Put a magnet on your unit right here. It'll trick it and it will think that it's closed. It'll start turning. I'm expecting it to be kind of a wet mess, and then I'll show you how we recover it. And once it's recovered, I'll do video updates. This is just about an hour and a half later. We've added some more food scraps to it. It is a wet, sloppy mess. So you see how I've torn up the egg crates, thrown them in here. Gonna close this, let this run tonight. You can also use paper towels, you can use bread, rice, any brown carbon-based material will do. So like brown paper bags, I think I mentioned cardboard, any of those. So I'm gonna put some egg cartons here, and I am pretty sure it's still too wet that even this isn't gonna fix it, but it might take us a few days, but I'm gonna keep doing this as we help these microbes recover all of this moisture. So once again, shut this, make sure it is in dry mode, and we'll check again tomorrow morning. We're 12 hours into our experiment of just completely ruining our ecosystem in our Reencle, and the microbes are super wet. Let me give you a look what it looks like after 12 hours. Okay, 12 hours in, and you can see we are a wet, sloppy mess. If I read the moisture, well above 90%. Check it in a few places, 89 over there. And remember, our target moisture is between 40 to 60%. I like to keep mine right about 50. And so this is really wet. And you can also see there's chunks of stuff. We're still feeding it, fed it this morning with some things, but the efficiency is not great. But you can see it did eat down all of the cardboard that I put in here last night. I mean, there's really I cannot find any evidence of that egg carton in the unit. So what I'm gonna do is put another couple egg cartons in here to give it a good carbon-rich diet to help absorb some of this water, and I'll also keep this on dry mode. One of the things you see too is I do help it when it's in like this. I stir it up to help just kind of mix it up, makes it a little easier on the turning rod and the paddles. Anyway, we'll throw some more cardboard in here and then we'll check it later tonight. All right, so ideally we want to have 40 to 60% moisture, and we're looking at about 86%, and I always test it in a few spots. 96%, another 85%, so way too wet. We want to get this down closer to 50%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear up these egg crates, put them inside, and then I'm going to turn on dry mode. And that is going to help evaporate some of that excess moisture. And this brown or carbon egg crate is going to help absorb some of that water while the microbes digest it. This is our 48-hour update on the wet, sloppy mess that we turned our Seymour into. I'm going to open this up, take a look inside. Now, we've still been feeding it and doing everything normal that we normally would. It is still really wet and juicy. And I'm gonna see, what does our moisture look like? 78%. So still wetter than it needs to be. So I'm going to so this has been 2 days. Now it is still breaking down the food that we're putting into it, which is pretty impressive because I thought that it would stop completely being that wet, but it's actually still breaking down food and working pretty well in that regard. And then I'm gonna add some more of this. So it's some packing material from something that we got. So I'm gonna add that to keep trying to help absorb the water and give it some carbon to absorb. And then we'll do another check tomorrow. So I believe this is day 4 or 5 in the morning. I lost track, but anyway. So what I had to do yesterday, if you look here, we started collecting food waste in here yesterday, and then I took out a bunch of the material, the compost that was in the unit, and the reason I did that, if you look in here, right here, we got over on here on the max line, it started to get some of the compost into the mesh filter, and I don't want that to happen. I need that airflow to keep going through the unit. So I took a lot of it out, probably down to the light, just to give it some extra space, and then ran it for 24 hours without putting anything in it. Pretty good looking right now. And then this is the big indicator. So let's see what our moisture's at. So we're like in the perfect range now. 40% is the minimum. So we're right in there. And then if you don't have the meter like that, like if I squeeze this and do the squeeze test, and you can see like my hand is moist. Now it's a little greasy. This is from like, I think all the fat that was in the dairy that went in there. But what I'm gonna do is this now needs to be emptied down to the minimum line. So we're gonna take and put, and you can use a shovel. I just like to grab it with my hand because then I know how much chunky stuff is in it that I'm gonna need to pull out that I wanna sift through. So like see this, like there's a orange peel. I'm gonna put that back in the unit so it has more time to decompose. But I'm gonna take this down to the minimum line since this is good moisture, been in here for 24 hours without any extra additions. We recommend 24 hours. I sometimes like to do 48 just to give it that extra time in here. But since I'm kind of getting a large pile up of stuff here, I just wanna keep it working. But I'm gonna take this out and I'll get it right down. It's right about the minimum line now. So right here at the minimum line, a little below it, but that's all right. When I have it down at this too, I like to clean off my stirring arm and my paddles just to get some of this longer stringy stuff sometimes kind of caught up on it. And I like to pull that stuff out after I empty it, but pretty clear now. And so what we're gonna do is drop in this bowl here that had the stuff from yesterday. You can see like even this stuff is still kind of chunky and it's really wet. It's kind of dried out since it's been out, but we'll leave it in there for a good, probably all this stuff for 48 hours, but we'll start feeding it regularly also because we're well below the max line and I've got room here. But anyway, from that mess that we started that was like all milky and wet, that big soup that we started with, and just maintaining that way for 4 or 5 days, keeping it in dry and purified modes, and then adding a lot of the carbon. I added probably 3 or 4 egg crates and then some boxing packing material. So you keep adding all that stuff. Oh, look at that. I got more. Wife is still cooking breakfast, and so we're out some more. But anyway, that's how you recover this machine. And what's awesome is how resilient, if you look here, these microbes are and how well they broke down this material. So I'm just gonna pick through here, grab a few of these chunkier pieces, but I'll pull these chunks out, put it back in, and there you go. That's how you recover a machine from a wet, sloppy mess.